For decades, we were told the same story. If gun rights ever disappeared in America, it would be the Democrats. It would be the left. It would be the anti-gun crowd. That has always been a narrative. But here's the irony no one wants to talk about. That's not what's happening right now. Right now, the logic that's threatening gun rights the most is coming from the Republican Party. And that should stop everyone cold. Here's the argument being defended. All right. A man legally carried a gun to a rally. Law enforcement says they perceived him as a threat because he was armed. And conservative voices, people usually defend the Second Amendment, are backing that reasoning. That's the key. Because once you accept that logic, you don't need Democrats to pass gun control. You've already done the work for them. So let's just stop dancing around this and just follow the argument honestly. If carrying a gun at a rally or a protest makes you a threat, like they tried to treat this guy named Alex Purdy, then guns should be banned at rallies and protests. All of them. No exceptions. No good guy clauses. No selective outrage. Because you cannot say gun ownership is a constitutional right and also say police are justified in treating armed citizens as automatic threats. Those two ideas cancel each other out. You have to pick one. And the sad thing is that the Republican Party under Trump seems to be going with the narrative. Not because apparently that's not what they really believe, but the Trump administration is so willing to stay face, to make it seem like that what they said was right, that they are willing to get around with anything. They'll get rid of anything just to stay face. And it's troublesome, right? This whole time they're supposed to be defending this. But instead of them just admitting, you know what? We were wrong. This guy was no threat. These ICE agents made a mistake. But they don't want to do that. They just want to simply stick to the story that they've been putting out there. That this guy was a domestic terrorist. That he had threatened the ICE agents. So they want to continue to do this. And all he was doing, if you watch the video, the guy never put his gun in the gun stayed holstered. But they keep telling you he had a gun. He had 2 magazines full of bullets. If you're going to a rally with this type of ammunition, then you must be a threat. That's what they're trying to say about this guy. And no, I'm not saying I support banning guns at protests. I'm saying own your logic you're defending. Own it. Because if the presence of a firearm alone justifies deadly force, then gun rights aren't being protected. They're being hollowed out quietly, narratively, by the very people who claim to defend them. And it's all because they don't want to admit they were wrong. That's the uncomfortable part. Armed protesters have been praised as patriots by the same party. Open carry has been defended as free expression. We've been told for years that guns don't make someone dangerous. But now the argument is that the gun itself is the threat. And once you say that, you've handed anti-gun lawmakers the cleanest argument they ever had. They don't have to say, we're saying this. Pam Bundy is saying this. Christina Nome is saying this. Which brings us to the part nobody expected. If this logic keeps winning, it won't be Democrats who gut the Second Amendment. It'll be conservatives. It'll be defended by Republicans. It'll happen under a Republican administration. Not by repealing the amendment, but by redefining when it's allowed to exist. Here's the challenge. If carrying a gun makes you a threat, say it out loud and write the law. Ban guns at all rallies and protests. Force the vote. Put everyone on record. Let's see who suddenly remembers the Second Amendment. Let's see who suddenly remembers the Second Amendment when the consequences show up. The crazy thing is that I already know it's going to happen. The Democrats, or the ones claiming to want to amend these gun laws, they're not going to do anything about it. You know why? Because truth be told, most of the Democrats in America are not against guns. Most of the Democrats in America actually are for guns. They're for the Second Amendment. They don't believe the first 10 amendments should be changed. But that doesn't stop them from using it as a talking point, right? A lot of Republicans and Democrats use the Second Amendment as a talking point. Oh, they're going to try to take it away. Oh, they're going to do this. They're going to do this. But when it actually comes down to making legislation to change things, they don't do anything. If you've been watching Congress lately at all, you'll notice they talk about a lot of things. They bring up a lot of things. They want to argue. They want to fight. They want to have discussions. They're not about really making change. Because if they were, anytime stuff would happen, they would actually try to make a change. What are they doing now? They're about to shut the government down again. Just shut it down. That's their one job, to make sure the government stays open. Their checks not gonna get cut. They're gonna keep getting paid no matter what. But the other people might have to go on furlough again. We just got out of one. Those people can recover. But you know what? That's what they're doing. So I like to say the Democrats have an opportunity now. They're not gonna do anything. They're not actually against guns. Most Americans, believe it or not, are for guns. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's just what they are. It'll be a talking point coming up in the next election. They will bring this stuff up again in the next election. But as far as actually using the Republicans' own words against them, they're not going to do it. Even the NRA seemed to have backed down to Trump because they don't want to make disruption. They don't want to make problems with Trump. So even they are slowly trying to watch how they word their messages right now. That's the crazy part. Everyone's on pins and needles to wonder how should they word their messages. So now use this time against them, but they're not. That's just a whole other point that I'm dealing with right now. We spent years though watching, I'm gonna say the wrong enemy. Turns out the biggest threat to gun rights might be the very people who swear they're protecting them. That's the irony right now. That's the warning. But the biggest thing that we should take from this is that instead of our politicians don't want to sometimes do what's right. If doing what's right means that they have to admit that they made a mistake, if they have to admit that something that they're leading did something wrong, they'd rather keep lying. They'd rather change all the laws and rules just to make it seem like what they said have been right. That's what we have a problem with right now and with every administration. They are so focused on trying to make sure that they are viewed as doing things right that they will burn a whole building down, right? That's what the mega administration is doing right now. And yeah, with that, peace.